History's greatest empires weren't just built on strategy, but on weapons that gave them the edge. Today, we're going to count down the top 5 most powerful weapons that gave ancient civilizations the upper hand. Let's start with number 5, the Pilum. The Pilum was a heavy javelin used by Roman legionaries designed to disrupt enemy formations before close combat. More than just a simple throwing spear, it was a carefully engineered weapon that gave Rome a tactical edge for centuries. Typically measuring about 2 meters long, the Pilum consisted of a wooden shaft with an iron shank attached to the front. The shank was around 60 centimeters long and ended in a pyramidal or barbed point. This long, narrow iron head was designed to penetrate enemy shields and armor. One of the Pilum's key features was that its shank was relatively soft and prone to bending on impact. Far from being a flaw, this ensured that once it struck a shield, the weapon could bend and weigh the shield down, making it unwieldy or forcing the enemy to discard it. This clever design neutralized the protection of enemy shields and left opposing soldiers vulnerable when the Romans closed in with their short swords. Battles often began with legionaries advancing in formation, each soldier carrying 2 pilla, and at close range, about 15 to 30 meters, they hurled them into the enemy line. A rain of pilla could break shields, injure or kill enemy soldiers, and create chaos just before the crucial clash of infantry lines. Ancient sources confirmed the Pilum's deadly effectiveness. Polybius, writing in the 2nd century BCE, described how pilla could pierce through multiple layers of shields and armor, and archaeological finds in Spain and Germany have uncovered pilla heads, showing their distinctive long shanks and pyramidal points. Over time, the Pilum evolved. Variations existed with different head shapes or construction techniques, but by the late Empire, some versions were simplified as economic pressures grew, yet the principle remained the same. The Pilum shows how Roman success often came not from having the most glamorous or imposing weapons, but from integrating practical designs into disciplined tactics. It was not the weapon alone, but its use in a system of combined arms, pilum, shield, gladius, that made it so effective. Number 4, the Kopesh. The Kopesh was a distinctive sickle-shaped sword that became one of the most iconic weapons of ancient Egypt. Emerging around 2500 BCE, it combined the qualities of an axe and a sword, giving Egyptian soldiers a versatile weapon for slashing, hooking, and close combat. That unique shape made it instantly recognizable, and it remained in use for centuries, not only in Egypt but across the Near East. The Kopesh evolved from earlier battle axes, which had curved blades, but over time, smiths extended the blade into a longer crescent-shaped weapon with one side blunt for gripping and the outer edge sharpened for cutting, typically made of bronze, and later, iron. As metallurgy advanced, Kopesh swords varied in length from about 50 to 60 centimeters. The curved blade allowed for powerful chopping and slashing motions, effective against unarmored or lightly armored opponents. The hooked section could also be used to catch and pull an enemy shield or weapon out of position, creating openings in close combat. The Kopesh became strongly associated with Egyptian power and kingship. Reliefs and inscriptions depict pharaohs wielding Kopesh swords in battle or ritual contexts. For example, images of Ramses II at the Battle of Kadesh show him armed with the Kopesh. Pharaohs were often buried with Kopesh swords as symbols of their role as protectors and warriors. A beautifully preserved Kopesh was found in the tomb of Tutankhamun, its blade gilded and ceremonial in nature, though based on functional designs. As armor improved, the Kopesh gradually lost its utility compared to thrusting weapons designed to pierce metal defenses, yet for centuries, it had been the weapon that symbolized Egyptian military power and gave its armies a real advantage over less well-equipped foes. Number 3, the Atlatl. Long before the bow and arrow became dominant, one of humanity's most effective ranged weapons was the Atlatl, also known as the spear thrower. This simple but ingenious device, found in use across the Americas, Europe, and parts of Asia, gave hunters and warriors the ability to hurl spears with far greater speed, distance, and force than could be achieved by hand alone. In Mesoamerica, the Atlatl remained a key military weapon well into the time of the Aztecs, giving them an edge in both range and power over their adversaries. The Atlatl works on the principle of leverage. It is essentially a shaft, usually about 30 to 60 centimeters long, with a hook or socket at one end to hold a dart or light spear. By extending the length of the throwing arm, it multiplies the force applied by the user. Tests with replicas show that darts launched from an Atlatl can reach speeds of over 90 kilometers per hour, with ranges up to 150 meters. Compared to a hand-thrown spear, the spear dramatically dramatically increased both distance and penetration. Archaeological evidence shows that spear throwers were in use by the Upper Paleolithic period in Europe. About 20,000 years ago, in the Americas, they appeared at least 10,000 years ago, with preserved examples found in dry caves and bogs. By the time of the Aztecs, the Atlatl was not a primitive relic, but a refined weapon. Aztec warriors carried atlots into battle alongside obsidian-edged swords. The darts, often tipped with obsidian or bone points, were capable of inflicting lethal wounds. Outside of Mesoamerica, the atlot was equally important. In North America, it was widely used before being gradually replaced by the bow and arrow around 500 CE in Europe. Its presence is confirmed by cave art and archaeological finds, like the decorated spear throwers carved from reindeer antler in France and Spain. Modern experimental archaeology has demonstrated just how effective this weapon was. Reconstructions confirmed its ability to kill large game and penetrate armor, validating historical reports from the conquest of Mexico. While simple in appearance, the Atlatl represents a major step in humanity's mastery of ranged weapons, using mechanics to amplify human strength. Number 2. The Katana. The katana is perhaps the most iconic weapon associated with Japan, and while often romanticized in modern culture, its effectiveness in the hands of trained samurai gave feudal Japan a significant martial advantage. Emerging in its recognizable form by the late Kamakura period, 13th to 14th century CE, the katana was more than just a sword. It was the product of advanced metallurgy, careful craftsmanship, and a culture that placed extraordinary value on the warrior's blade. Unlike the straight double-edged swords of Europe, the katana was a curved, single-edged weapon, typically around 60 to 80 centimeters long. Its curved design allowed for efficient cutting motions while still being capable of thrusting attacks. Samurai wore their katana edge up through their sash, making it easier to draw quickly in a single motion, a technique known as iyad. This fast draw capability gave warriors an advantage in sudden encounters. The katana's reputation rested on its quality. Japanese swordsmiths developed advanced forging techniques to compensate for the limitations of iron sand, their primary source of ore. Using methods like differential hardening, smiths created blades with sharp, hard edges that resisted dulling and softer spines that provided flexibility. The katana also held profound cultural significance. In Japanese society, it became known as the soul of the samurai. Ownership was tied to social status, and laws restricted the wearing of swords to the warrior class. Samurai codes like Bushido emphasized the sword not only as a weapon, but as a reflection of honor and duty. Even outside the battlefield, the katana served as a badge of identity and authority. Against steel plate armor, the katana was no more effective than other swords, and samurai relied on a range of weapons in actual warfare. Its superiority lay less in mythical abilities and more in its balance of sharpness, resilience, and cultural integration. It was designed to suit the combat style of its time and place, and in that role, it excelled. The katana gave Japan a distinct martial identity, offering its warriors both a practical battle weapon and an enduring symbol of legacy. Number 1. The spear. The spear is the oldest and most widely used weapon in human history. It gave civilizations everywhere a crucial upper hand long before swords, bows, or advanced military technology. Simple in design, a sharpened point attached to a shaft, it predates even the rise of Homo sapiens. Archaeological finds of stone-tipped spears in Africa suggest they were in use for more than 300,000 years, making them humanity's earliest purpose-built weapon. From the hunting grounds of prehistory to the organized armies of Egypt, Greece, and beyond, the spear was the fundamental weapon that shaped both survival and civilization. Early spears were hunting tools as much as weapons of war. They allowed humans to kill large game at a safer distance, reducing risk while increasing their success. By the time of the first cities in Mesopotamia and Egypt, spears were already standard in warfare. In ancient art, Sumerian soldiers are often depicted carrying spears alongside shields, showing their role in early organized combat. The spear's advantages lay in its reach, simplicity, and versatility. A thrusting spear could be used at close quarters to keep an enemy at bay, while lighter versions could be thrown as javelins. Compared to swords, which required more material and skill to forge, spears were inexpensive and easy to produce in large numbers. This made them the logical choice for equipping armies, particularly in societies where citizen militias or conscripted farmers formed the bulk of the fighting force. The Greeks elevated the spear to its most famous form in the dory, a weapon about 2 to 3 meters long, carried by hoplites. In the phalanx formation, overlapping spears created a wall of points that few enemies could break. The Macedonians, a longer version of the spear, extended that principle even further, giving Alexander the Great's armies a decisive edge. In northern Europe, Germanic tribes wielded spears like the angan, designed to stick in enemy shields, much like the Roman pilum. In Africa, the Zulu perfected the short-stabbing spear, or even as metalworking advanced and swords became prestige weapons, the spear remained the backbone of most armies because it was both effective and practical. The spear was also crucial in hunting and daily life, giving it symbolic importance. In myth and legend, gods and heroes often carried spears. Odin wielded Gungnir in Norse mythology, while Athena is frequently depicted with a spear in Greek art. These associations reinforced its status as not only a practical weapon but a cultural icon. Their ubiquity shows how no civilization could advance without mastering this basic yet powerful weapon. Even with the introduction of bows, crossbows, and eventually firearms, the spear's simplicity ensured its persistence. Pikes and bayonets are direct descendants, proving the spear's endurance in military history as late as the 19th century. Ultimately, the spear's dominance was due to its combination of accessibility and effectiveness. It could be used by a single hunter to bring down game, or by thousands of soldiers in a disciplined formation to repel cavalry and crush enemy armies. In many ways, it was the weapon that allowed humans not only to survive, but to build civilizations. The story of the spear is the story of human ingenuity, a straightforward tool that became the foundation of warfare for millennia. While more complex weapons would follow, few ever matched its reach, both on the battlefield and in shaping the course of our history. So, that's it for today. If you're still watching, make sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, so hit subscribe now, as it really means a lot to me. Don't forget to leave a comment and let me know what you thought of the video. I'll catch you soon in the next one. Till then, peace out.